Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Today I thought we could go over my best and worst of 2021. So my plan is to rank these books from the absolute worst that I read to the absolute best. I have 5 on each category for this scale of best and worst. So I'm hoping that that's gonna work out. Of course, these are all subjective, and I totally could change my mind tomorrow on which order I think is best or worst. But overall, these are the 5 worst and the 5 best. So starting off with, I think, the worst book I read in 2021, Evercursed by Corey Ann Haydu. Oh boy. Don't be fooled by this beautiful, stunning, pretty cover, because the cover and the synopsis will be so wrong from what this book actually is. This is sort of pitched to be like a feminist beats the patriarchy, fairy tale styled book. And oh boy, does it lack everything. So basically this book is trying to handle a lot of topics, and please check the trigger warnings because the central plot around this book is rape, and so obviously it won't be for everyone, and even myself wasn't ready for this and did not want this to be what it was. Going into it, I did have high hopes of the magic system because I enjoyed the way that the witches had these like woven burlap skirts that, depending on the magic that they cast, their skirts get bigger. And this one specific witch curses a queen and her 4 or 5 daughters, and the queen is now frozen forever basically, and on the 13th birthday of each daughter or princess they are cursed, and our main character, I believe her name is Jane, is cursed that day because it's her 13th birthday. And she's cursed with not being able to eat food. So you can see already where the trigger warnings might be coming in. Yeah, these trigger warnings were handled so poorly. Eating disordered was handled poorly. The way that the princess were fawning over these girls. They were so excited to be with her and her sisters, who I think it was like lost her memory. One of them had no emotions, and these princes were just eating it up. They liked them just the way they were. They were perfect. No one could fix them, because if they fix them, then they're not worth anything. Okay. There was no major plot going on. There was no character development, but like a tiny bit. It didn't work. It fell super flat. The quest that they go on, no one wants to help them. No one actually wants to do anything about this king, who is the sole reason why they're being cursed. And he doesn't care. He would rather have his daughters die. It was just blah and outraging and just not enjoyable. And I'm so glad that I read this as an audiobook so that I could breeze through it and get it over with and done, but at the same time I wish that I DNF'd it because it was that bad. I rated this 1 star. Yikes. Alright, on to the next. This one might be controversial. White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson made it onto my list. But yeah, I did end up rating this 2 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to rate it 1 star, but I'm probably just not going to. But yeah, I know that Tiffany D. Jackson is a beloved author and a lot of people really like her. This was my first time reading her and I was super disappointed. I don't get it. I didn't like it. This book is trying to handle so many topics and cover so many things like gentrification, legalization and criminalization of marijuana, bedbug phobia. It's a lot, but it's trying to be this haunted house psychological thriller while also trying to talk about this community and social commentary, and it was a lot. But basically in this, following Marigold, who has trauma from an overdose and previous things that have happened in California, which has caused her bedbug fear. Through this art program, her mom gets accepted to. This whole blended family get to go live free in a new house, in a new town, halfway across the state, or the country, and no one else lives on the street. It's completely abandoned. It seems weird. During this time, Marigold needs fucking therapy, and that could probably solve most of the problems. Instead, she is turning to find weed, which has incriminated most of the community because they're, of course, black. And so everyone's in prison because of marijuana. So it's hard to come by. And Marigold needs it because that's how she's going to calm down and relax. And I totally agree that marijuana can help. Marijuana can also make you paranoid. It's different for everybody, and I don't condone teenagers smoking pot, but it's gonna happen at times, and I don't think it should be so criminalized. I think it should be normalized to an extent, of course, but these parents should be more understanding. Like, these parents are acting like her smoking weed is the worst thing ever. It's causing so many problems, when in reality, okay, we're gonna get into a little bit of spoiler territory, I think. In reality, her boyfriend sold her laced weed, laced with fentanyl, which gave her an overdose, while she was also snorting other drugs. But that's not the problem. The problem is the weed. Make it make sense. I don't understand any of that to begin with. And on top of all of this, you've got a haunted house where they're not allowed in the basement. Things are getting weird. The twist was fine. The ending was so abrupt, and it didn't conclude anything. It didn't give you more. There were so many conversations trying to be had that I just couldn't keep up with everything. This book fell so flat for the scare factor. That could partially be on the narration of the audiobook, which was not very exciting or horrific at all. So that could have been it, but I did not find this scary. I didn't need the facts about the bed bugs. I know that's her thing, but like, I don't need that. I don't want that. She's fictional, and I'm sure people go through it, but I'm also hoping they're in therapy for it, because it'll help deal with the traumas of like a divorce and moving and a blended family and so on and so forth and everything like that. So yeah, overall, Marigold needs therapy, and this book needs to stay away from me. Sorry to anyone who likes this, and it's totally okay if you do, but I just wasn't here for the conversations it was trying to have, and how decriminalizing it was making marijuana whilst trying to also talk about how it shouldn't be. It was just kind of hypocritical and didn't focus on the right areas. Yeah. The only character I liked was Sam, which was the brother, and I hated Piper, but I also was like, whatever. I just didn't care enough about the book, the characters, the plots. So that is why this made it on my worst books of 2021 list. The next book that I have to talk about is, sorry, my cat is crossing the window. The next book that I have to talk about is Spell's Trouble by P.C. Cass and Kristen Cass. This is a mother-daughter duo who wrote a collaborative twin sister witchy book about these twin sisters who lose their mother during the ritual of figuring out which god they want to follow and do magic with or for. And their mother dies, and it's up to them to put a demon back in the ground or something and save the town and keep these 5 gates to the underworlds safe. I had so many issues with this book. When I tell you I've never hated listening to an audiobook more. For starters, this is dual perspective. You've got both sisters' POVs, but it's never explained who sister's going to be explaining this chapter. It does tend to go back and forth, but as listening to the audiobook, I couldn't tell you which sister we were following and why. They sounded so similar. They had no distinction. They maybe had 2 personality traits. It just fell flat in character, and there was no character development. One of them literally, like, got rid of their grief so that they wouldn't have to feel the emotions, and it just didn't explore the topics very well. Not to mention, the way these children talk is awful and so unrealistic, and I just couldn't listen to it. It just was terrible. No one talks like that. I don't know why older authors think that they can write young adult and then make them sound like Valley Girls from the early 2000s. No one talks like that anymore. Or even if ever, I never knew anyone that talked like this. And as for the actual, like, world building and magic system, it was just lazy. Nothing happened. Nothing was explored. I don't understand the choice of having 5 different trees that are the gates to 5 different cultural underworlds, like Greek, Norse, Egyptian, Hindu, and Japanese. Why all these gates are located in, like, the mid-United States, like, I think it's Illinois or something. Like, why? Why would the gate to the Egyptian underworld not be in Egypt? I don't understand that. I know this also talked lightly about indigenous people and using their practices for their magic a little bit, which I thought was kind of weird as well. It just didn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time. And my least favorite part of this entire book, which honestly I should have DNF'd it when I got to this part. Maybe this is the worst book I read, I don't know. But oh boy, there is a light, no, it's not light, it's a very steamy blowjob scene in great detail. This book is very sex positive, which I'm for in YA. Like, I have no problem with YA characters having flirtations and having a sexual relationship with partners and having the conversations, because they are important, they need to be there. But this went into too much graphic detail for me. Hearing about it, I don't want to think about that in such detail. Not to mention, the mother before she dies is so sex positive with her daughters, which is great. Again, all for it. Me and my mom are super close, and we've definitely had conversations about sex. Not like this, though. This mother is talking about her daughter's boyfriend's penis size based off a ring that he wears, or how it's in their genes to orgasm multiple times. They're like 16 or 17. Why are we talking about this so graphically? Didn't like it. Was not a fan. Gave this 1 stars. Oh yikes. No good. The 4th on the worst books list isn't so bad. This one's kind of a nice refresher from the bad. We've got Which Happens by A.M. King. This is a cozy mystery, and it's just bad. Objectively bad. The writing is bad. The facts are incorrect and forgotten. The names change. The locations are incorrect to, like, geographically incorrect. It just was weird. The plot had a bunch of holes. It didn't go anywhere. I couldn't even tell you what it's about, to be honest, anymore. I know we're following a witch on her birthday who doesn't know she's a witch. She gets fired and dumped by her boyfriend slash fiance, who's having an affair with her boss. So she loses everything and moves with her aunts and sister in a small cafe or something, learning how to be a witch. And then, of course, it's a cozy mystery, so someone dies, and then she solves the case or something. I just wasn't into it. I wasn't having any fun. It just felt rushed and repetitive, and nothing was going on, and I just didn't enjoy it. Luckily, it was pretty short, so I didn't waste too much time on it, But yeah, I wouldn't recommend. Alright, and the last one on my worst book. I wanted to end the video on a high note. That's why the best are coming. So I actually have this one. I bought this. So sorry. We have Survived the Night by Riley Sager. This isn't bad. So I don't want you to think that I like put this on the list because it's actually the worst. I didn't read a lot of bad books this year. I got pretty lucky in that aspect. Like I had a pretty successful first year reading. But this book definitely fell flat in a few places. Now, I will link a video down below that you must watch. If you've read this especially, or you have no plans to ever read this, spend 5 minutes watching the best video you'll ever see on this book. My favorite new hobby now is to read the Goodreads reviews for books that I didn't like, because people are funnier than I am and I really appreciate it. One person on Goodreads said, "She's a dumb bitch, and if I was her friend, she would get me killed in a horror movie because she's the stupid girl in a horror movie. 1000%. Another person said, spoiler by the way, "We don't marry our kidnappers." Wow. I genuinely laughed so hard when I saw that on Goodreads. Again, the video that I linked down below, fucking hilarious. Portrays this book in every way you need it to be known. This just doesn't make sense. The character Charlie is stupid, and to start this book off, we meet Charlie, who is unfortunately going through a really rough time and needs to escape her university because her roommate was actually killed by the campus killer. She decides to join like a ride-sharing service and goes on a road trip with this guy named Josh, who's just happening to go her way. Across a couple states to take her home. Totally safe and normal, not like there's a campus killer on the loose. So, we're trapped with this man in a car. It is kind of like a locked room mystery, partially. It gets weird. I'm gonna get into a little bit of spoiler territory. I saw, like, oh, it's so annoying. I really liked her boyfriend. I don't remember his name, but I really liked his character. So, oops. Yikes. I really liked his character, and I told my boyfriend whilst reading this, I was like, watch, fucking watch, he's gonna be the campus killer. And guess fucking what he is. Come on, Riley Sager. Come on! Also, this dumb bitch of a grandma, the roommate who died, her grandma is behind it all. The grandma is the one who's like, I'm gonna fucking kill her because she saw what happened to my granddaughter and didn't help because she doesn't remember who it was, blah blah blah. She's got fucking cancer and she's like doing some heavy lifting shit. Bitch, you've got cancer! And then at the end, and it was all just a dream. This is a fucking movie. She turned her trauma into a movie, so this is the dramatized version of what actually happened. Why? This was my first Riley Sager, and oh boy, when I say I was fucking disappointed by this. I truly mean, I was so disappointed. I don't know why he's so beloved. I hope his other work is better than this, because I'm not impressed. Okay, well, we made it, guys. We got through the worst of the worst. Now we're going to go into the best of the best. These are my top 5 books of 2021 that I really enjoyed. Gobbled up. Thought it was so amazing. So great. Now the problem is, I have a list here. And I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 books. And I still have to narrow it down to 5. So I have 2 physically with me that I know are on the list. And then I have 2 that I don't have with me that are definitely on the list. I need 1 more. So I guess I'm just going to quickly shout the 3 out. And then we'll talk more in depth about the other 4, maybe. So first we have A Lat's Way by Little Darcy Badger. This is just cute. This is just happy. This is just wholesome. I loved it. And then we have Lobizona by Romina Garber. This is mystical fantasy, Loved everything about it, loved the social commentary about this. This is handled so well. Nothing but praise. And then I guess we'll put in the 5th slot, If We Were Villains by Ellen Rio. Loved it. It's so good. We're following Oliver, who is getting released from prison and for the murder of a student, and the sheriff, or like the lead detective on the case, wants to know what truly happened after, like, when he retires. So they have this little walk down memory lane at the university where the events took place, and this is so Shakespearean and dark academia and beautiful. I love the atmosphere. It's just, everything about it was fantastic. So, rightfully so, this belongs in my top 7 books of the year. Okay, now going into the 4 that I'm for sure, like, positive about. I'm feeling pretty confident with my ranking, but I'm pretty sure this is where we're at. So, in the 4th spot, we have House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This was on everyone's favorite list of 2020. I've seen it on a few people for 2021. This book is just so loved, and I understand why. Linus Baker is an amazing, by-the-book caseworker who has the privilege and responsibility to go make sure that the House in the Cerulean Sea are taking care of these very unique 6 children correctly and making sure that they're safe. And so we're following him as he travels this long journey to meet them, and it's just so wholesome. These characters are fantastic. I couldn't tell you better children characters than this book. I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm so excited to reread this. They have my heart. Next we have House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. This book is not for everyone, but I love it. I love it so much. It is dark, it is spooky, and it's beautiful. I loved the scenes of the ball. I love the way that the ocean town is explained. I love anything that's set around the ocean. It's just so good. It's so scary, haunting, beautiful. In this, we are following Anna Lee, who is one of 12 sisters, but unfortunately, what we believe is a family curse is killing off these sisters one by one, oldest to youngest, and we're down to like sister number 6, which is Anna Lee. And so, following the most recent death of her sister, whose name I guess doesn't really matter, mourning period starts, and unfortunately, but yet fortunately, the stepmother, who's new to this family, has decided no more mourning. This is just too much, and they just need a break. They just need some happiness and light. When this starts to happen, the facade of this curse starts to crumble, and that's all I'm gonna say. This is so good. I loved Erin A. Craig's writing. I thought she did a great job. I'm so excited to read her new book, and honestly, just about anything she ever writes. And we've made it to the final 2. We're going to do these in the best order that I can, and we're going to say in the number 2 slot is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. Oh, this book. This book. I love it. I love it so much. I know a lot of people don't, and that's totally fine. I loved it. I ate that shit up. In this, we are following Jane, who really needs to get married so that she can stay where she's residing because her guardians are moving. So she offers up a business proposal to Dr. Lawrence, and eventually, after a few surgeries that she helps with and the books that she's maintaining, he accepts, with the one condition that she's not allowed at his manor, and he will stay at the hospital, I guess. Of course, their honeymoon goes awry, and they end up at the manor, and she ends up staying the night, and spooky shit starts happening right off the bat, and I fucking love it. I love this so much. I know a lot of people didn't like the ending or the twist and where it went, but I was here for it. I really was. I really liked the gothic Victorian setting. I really enjoyed the horror and the scariness, as well as the other elements that come up. I really loved the romance. This book put me in such a good mood. It reminded me why I absolutely love to read. Like, absolutely love to read. Because it was fantastic. The writing was beautiful. I stayed up until 3 a.m. reading this book nonstop. I couldn't put it down. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm so happy that this ended up being picked for the Literally Dead book club, because I don't know if it would have come across my radar any other way. So, with that being said, that leaves us to our last and final best book of the year, the best of the best, the top of the top, A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is the most beautiful book I've ever written. I didn't write it. I wish I had. This is the most beautiful book I've ever read. We're following Costanza, who's dying on the streets and is visited by this man who ends up saving her life by turning her into a vampire. Because of course, I can't be gothic and amazing without some vampire stuff. This was the best Halloween read. It's following them through their travels and just their romantic life of being vampires, but also being hated by the world and eventually collecting more into their world. Yeah, weird way of putting that, but basically. And so we're just following them, and I fell so in love with the characters and the writing and the settings, and everything about it was just fantastic and amazing. I would love a spin-off for every character that there is. I would love to read more in this universe. I want a sequel. I thought this was done so well, so beautiful. I want to reread it so bad. The audiobook, by the way, absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend if you can get your hands on it. I know it was available on Scribd. I'm not sure if it still is, but it was so good. I read the ebook whilst listening to the audiobook, and it just enhanced the experience that much more. So good. So we did it. We made it. This video took a really long time to film because of all the animal distractions. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching this video. I highly recommend that you read my top 7 books of the year and maybe stay away from the ones that weren't so good. But again, up to you. Personal choice. I think that Survive the Night, super fun hate read, if you know what you're getting yourself into. But yes, that is all from me today. It was really great talking with you guys. I hope to chat soon. Bye!